Okay, so one of the things that, of course, just to think, why have we done the PMO director one? Because it's, as you said, many people, probably working more at the PMO manager level than they do director. So there are a number of different reasons why, from listening to all the things that we've been doing over the last 20 years or so, these are some of the things that has driven us to, to keep going up to that more senior level. Because you think about it, in the marketplace, there's probably a lot of administration and analysts, people out there, so that's probably where you're going to get a lot more people. But from the manager and the director level, and certainly the director level, there's a number of different reasons, and the classic one is that you don't know what you don't know.
I know we still meet individuals who have been given a role that looks and feels a bit like the PMO director role, but have not necessarily met with anybody or talked to anybody about what that role actually means. And so their understanding, their expectation of that role is very much limited by their own knowledge. So again, having the standard that comes from the competency framework allows them to understand actually what that role means perhaps in the industry rather than just in their particular organization. And it's been fascinating actually kind of having and talking to people who are at that level and doing that role, just starting to be able to put their arms around what's actually included.
And the other thing is that, but obviously when you're working certainly at that level, but it's unlikely that you're going to have many people that you can call on within your organization.
Well, it's likely to be
mentoring
you
or support or anything like that. It's probably just you, which means that yes, over the years there has been a lot of people saying that there's nothing for me to be able to do. I can go off and do some kind of project management, program management, portfolio management stuff, but actually there's nothing around specifically around this, the PMOs, but certainly around the enabling competencies, which are all about building the ecosystems and the integrated models and, things that are not covered in project, program and portfolio management type courses.
But because typically in project and program management courses, you're learning how to do risk management, you're learning, kind of how best to use a tool, but nobody's telling you, well, how do you set risk management up in an organization? How do you kind of best put that kind of tool in place? How do you build up the overall kind of skills and capability of your project management faculty, essentially? So it's really a kind of a different perspective that you might glean some information from your experience, you might have some views from your experience, but not necessarily kind of recognize how that's done in a more kind of formal or structured process.
I think one of the things that we frequently get requests into the House of PMO is from people that have been given the opportunity to set up a PMO or to run one and have never done it before. And actually the main questions we get is, where can I go to understand, what's the standard kind of approach to this kind of stuff? What are some of the steps that you might take to be able to do that? Which is where we obviously point them at, things like, well, first of all, you kind of need to understand what the role's about, because it's missing a lot of the time, which means that you tend to find, and certainly hear stories about the different approaches that people take to setting up PMOs. That's just purely around the setup. Obviously, it's very different when it comes to managing one as well. And it's this lack of consistency anyway across the industry, which continues to baffle people anyway about their perception of PMO.
And I think at the director level, the really interesting bit here is that you may end up inheriting a situation where you've got a number of PMOs in the organization who are all doing very different things. And again, that kind of that last point on there in terms of create consistency across the PMOs, if you start kind of putting in some structure about recognizing the different roles of administrator, analyst and manager and have them kind of more clearly defined, then everybody can see how that all fits together. And at the director level, we're saying it's not just how the roles fit together, but it's how all of the individual PMOs fit together. So you're putting together a kind of a three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle in terms of how best the whole of the PMO function can support the organization.
I think the bottom line as well is that actually for a lot of people that have been working at kind of manager director level for a while, there is still obviously that the ability to show externally, maybe through recruitment and things like that, that you have been operating at that role. That, you know, that's obviously a classic one, which many people, you know, choose qualifications to kind of show that that's the kind of thing they've been doing.